Hey guys, it is Sophie here. Welcome to a special episode of Extra Time with Girls on the Ball. While football has been somewhat sporadic since the end of the domestic season, this week the under-19s have taken up the mantle of action as they compete in the European Championships. So I've been flying solo in Lithuania for the last week as I cover the under-19 Euros. I am based in Kaunas, which thankfully is the Young Lionesses base as well, and they are playing some of their games here. Rachel is holding the fort back in London, in England of course, or in Tuesday's case in Gothenburg as other bits of work start back up again for us. But as you know, we are big fans of the underage groups and always are keen to shine a light on the hard work and talent that is coming up through the pathway. So I really wanted to give you a little insight into the camp over here and how they've been getting on. If you've been following the updates, you'll know that they beat Lithuania 10-0 in their opening game and then drew 1-1 with France in their final game. Due to that big opening day goal difference, France would need to win by some goal swing to prevent the Young Lionesses from moving on to the semi-finals. I've got my fingers crossed, that's for sure. I've had the opportunity to speak to a number of players while I've been out here. You can catch up on that across our social media platforms, but I had a really interesting conversation with coach John Griffiths where we spoke about the tournament, the team's progress, and most importantly, the youth to seniors pathway and how that has been developed over the years. Here's how we got on. That other voice, by the way, you hear in there is UEFA's Paul Saffer, who's been out here with me. Hi John, how is everything going so far in the tournament back with the under-19s?
Yeah, really good. You can see from obviously the pathway now, you know, it's strong 17s up to 23s. 23s last season went unbeaten, 17s to the final this year. We're hoping to go deep into the tournament. Seniors are obviously looking to push this evening for success to get through to the Euros next year. You know, the pathways, the strength and depth that we have in it now is really good. That's been built over a good period of time, you know, the last 10 years or so. So it's there's been a lot of work going domestically, locally by some of our regional FA staff, and then nationally by the national staff as well. There's been a lot of work going into it. So yeah, we're in a really good place at the moment.
And I mean, you've kind of been within the structure for quite a while now. Is that the main thing that's? I mean, in a nice way. Like you've been overseeing quite a lot of these age groups and the players coming through. Has that been the main difference in that the structure of the pathway is now becoming really formalised, I guess, and you can see that linear right up to the seniors?
Yeah, look, talent's never linear. It's always wobbling all over the place for them. I think one of the biggest things that we have is we understand, and we're better at understanding the performance gaps, and not just understanding what the gap is, but how do we get above it. And we've been working hard on that. You know, Kay is a technical director over the last sort of decade, you know, leading programs around that, and obviously we've underpinned it with things like the Wildcats program. So we increased the pool there, then we increased the pool at club, domestic, centre of excellence level, or regional talent centres, professional game academies as we have now, and then you know, obviously then funneling up towards the seniors. So by widening the base and then funneling everything up and professionalising the game at a senior level, that gives talent an opportunity. I think all of those structures in place collaboratively now have made a massive difference to the game over the last decade, and obviously off the back of the seniors winning in 2022 and the successors in 2023 getting to the World Cup final, it inspires a nation. That was the higher purpose of the group. So I think by doing that, what we've got now is we've got a really strong pathway, but we're not resting on laurels at all. We have to keep evolving and keep finding ways of improvement to stay ahead of the curve.
Obviously your windows overlap with the seniors and the under-23s, and I guess you're working at St George's Park anyway. How close is the collaboration with the other national coaches like Serena, for you, and even when the players are together, do they feel part of like a whole family of squads who often are playing at the same time and maybe in the same location at the same time?
Yeah, St George's Park has given us a real focal point, men's and women's. So, you know, all the age groups in the pathway, as long as, you know, we spend a lot of time on the road because we've got qualification rounds and things like that. So we're not there all the time, but any opportunity that we get to, as I said previously in the media, the 23s are trained with the seniors this year. We were at St George's when the seniors were there. Senior players, you know, frequently in the clubs in the domestic space are rubbing shoulders with the players all the time. So wherever we can, we'll always provide an available and aspirational environment. Serena and Leah and Esme came in to talk to the group before we came out of here. And what they do really well is the seniors will come just after training, or if they've got free afternoons, they're walking around St George's and they'll just come and watch training. And they'll come and take an interest in kind of what's happening with the pathway. So all the time, wherever there's an opportunity, we're always trying to blend and make sure that there is a recognition that there's a pathway to the top. And then obviously we have divisional technical days where if there's a tournament review, whether it's seniors down or 19, 17s up, we're constantly looking at the age groups and looking at ways to improve as a pathway. We don't do it in isolation. So after the World Cup and European successes, the seniors will present back to us the findings, and then that gives us an opportunity to underpin any of that work and improve it, because obviously that's the pathway for these, is going through to the seniors.
And preparing for a tournament like this, obviously you have to go through the qualifying stages. As you said, there was when I spoke to you the other day, quite a testing elite round group to get here. But then what kind of goes into preparation for the tournament like this, working with the clubs, I guess, and preparing the players?
Yeah, good question. So we try wherever we can to prepare the players playing against top opposition. That's really important for them. That gets them to experience us against other nations at that level. I think gone are the days now where we talk about other nations as being more favourable than us. We're a top nation now, and it's important that they recognise that. But what comes pressure is a privilege. There's a pressure around that, so we have to prepare for that pressure, and we do that right the way across the season. You can't do that 2 weeks out before a tournament. You have to do that over a range of dates. Preparation for here, the clubs have worked brilliantly with us collaboratively in the physical space, because obviously the season finished in WSL final game was around the 18th of May, so we've got a gap between then and our first prep camp on the at the end of June. So it's really important that we work with the clubs around. They needed some rest after the season. That's so important. So players had rest, and then we built them up in collaboration with the clubs to coming into prep camp 1, and we had a couple of prep camps before we came out here. And that was done collaboratively with, joined up with the clubs and them as individuals in personal spaces, because some of them are between clubs. So we've put something in place that for those that were between clubs, we could take responsibility for some of their development and programming. But in the main, the strength of the club program now is really good, and it provides us with a good platform of their development.
And I guess that's really important as well when, you've got, at this age group, you've got players who get regular minutes, say they're playing the championship regularly, but then there's players that aren't getting so regular minutes. So it's trying to, I guess, do it kind of individually as well, so that they make up the kind of gap where there are gaps in terms of their playing time.
Yeah, there's a huge trend and statistic between youth pathway success, but also long-term senior success, and that's around domestic playing minutes. And I think where the club space has really changed this year, the landscape's changed, has been around the loan system. That's definitely had a huge impact on this group particularly. And all of a sudden what we're seeing now is that gap's being bridged quicker between WSL Championship senior level and our youth players being exposed to that. So even though they may not play many minutes in WSL, when they become exposed in a loan system, or even going and playing in the Championship, even the National League, if have players that played there this season, that has had a massive difference in their experiences and exposure. I think somebody said this year when we played against France in a friendly, and then again when we played against Portugal, they looked like two women's teams at under 19s, and that's probably the first season for a long time where we really stack up against that. Yeah. And as other nations become exposed to their domestic league senior minutes, ours are beginning, and it's only a start to bridge some of that gap. But it's definitely one we've got to work harder on as a nation, as a club, and a domestic and an international system, is how we do that. Because then obviously the benefits for the domestic game is that they get players that are ready and capable of playing at a domestic level, and they can step straight into senior football. So that exposure, there's definitely a change in it.
How much knowledge sharing and collaboration do you have with, say, your equivalents from other countries, maybe the other coaches here, maybe not in these 2 weeks, but over the course of the year? Do you have much contact with your equivalents in other countries, see what they're doing? And
there's probably, because obviously the stakes are higher now at international level, there's probably less of a knowledge transfer than there used to be in terms of study visits, etc. But certainly as I've head coached previously at 17s level, the coaches were quite close. We would all talk when we get into a tournament. We'd have a coffee together and share some ideas. Again, because the stakes are high, it's probably less so now. But everybody's interested in what everybody else is doing. Everybody's looking for the golden ticket of improvement. I think what we've got good at is understanding. So we spent probably the last decade looking at other nations, seeing what they're doing, and then putting solutions in place to get ahead of our competitors. And I think we've done really well, and we keep doing that. Obviously, as I say, Kay and the work that the team do around Kay regionally are really looking hard at how we best get above some of those gaps as the game shifts. I think physically we've definitely plugged a lot of those gaps compared to our competitors. Technically we have, tactically we have. I think now it's a case of getting that more senior exposure, so our players become more robust and more prepared for playing more dense games over dense minutes. You look at the number of almost serial winners we have in this group, those that have had promotion from Championship this year, those that have had promotion previous years, those that have had success in the professional academy games. They've won trophies, they've won leagues and things like that. So all of a sudden we've got a collective of serial winners now, again, which we've not really had before. So yeah, I think we understand our competitors now, but it's more about what we need to do as a game system to making sure that we stay competitive in the future and become serial winners.
So that was a really interesting chat with John there. It's been fascinating to see the development of the youth pathway over the years and how it's been integrated. I think we're really starting to see the fruits of all of that hard work. We, of course, saw the under-23s join the seniors on camp in Marbella back in February, and you can see that the importance of that connection between the age groups is felt by everyone. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I've also chatted to a number of players over the week, and it's been great to get to know them a little better. Two of those are Lexie Potter and Araya Dennis, and here's how they've been getting on in camp. Lexie, how are you enjoying life here?
Yeah, it's really good. Obviously, 2 games in, 1 to go. Really important game tomorrow, but yeah, it's good. It's been some nice weather.
And you both come up from the under-17s last year, obviously having that experience at that tournament. How has that served you this time around, Lexie?
Yeah, I think it's been really important just having the experience of being at a finals tournament before and knowing what it's like to go through the group and then obviously progress into the semi. So I think having that behind us definitely helps us out.
And being in this environment with England, how does that develop you as a player, especially within the pathway and when you're looking at your development up to the under-23s?
We've obviously got great players in the squad, and obviously everyone kind of helps each other improve in that sense in training and games, and it's just everyone develops in that sense.
And Lexie, obviously the whole pathway is move up from under-17s all the way up, hopefully to the senior squad is the aim, and you're being supported at club as well, and you spent the season on out on loan. How did that kind of help you?
I think the importance of senior minutes has really helped me to improve as a player. I think getting that exposure, playing against actual adults, just the physicality, and then also the tactical side. I think it's helped me as a person as well. I've definitely come out my shell a lot more, and it's helped me to mature. So yeah, I really think this year it's really helped me to improve.
Would you say the same?
My experience going on loan was a bit different to Lexie's. Obviously, going into that, I kind of had that physical side where I could get stuck in physically, but it was more the mental aspect and the tactical aspect for me, which really helped bridge the gap between now hopefully going from 21s to then Championship and now from Championship to WSL.
And then I guess that must make you really confident when you're coming into this tournament in this environment where you're playing some of the best other nations in the world.
Yeah, definitely. I think just as I said, having that exposure to the senior minutes, it really gives you a bit of confidence behind your belt. I'd say going into a tournament like this, knowing other countries are playing senior football, but so are you, so you can compete with them when you're at that level. So one more group game for the young Lionesses. They'll be taking on France this evening, Saturday, and then hopefully I will be back out here for a semi-final on Wednesday. I hope you've enjoyed this little extra episode, and if you want to keep up with all of the action out here in Lithuania, make sure you're following Girls on the Ball across social media. We will be back on your airwaves very, very soon.